You're listening to Barbell Logic,
the podcast where we talk about what it means to experience strength
and how you can use simple, hard, and effective strategies in training and nutrition to improve your life.
It starts with meeting you where you are right now and finding lasting solutions.
Welcome to the show.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Barbell Logic podcast. I'm Niki with CJ. And CJ, you just wrapped up a call with the Coaching Academy group, as you were saying. What are those like?
That was a lot of fun. So originally we had like the Coaching Academy was these calls, small group calls, 6 to 10 people going through a curriculum for about 6 months now. This one was created by our students. Like they wanted to do this again, previous grads or principals course students. And so being in, they reached out to me, we coordinated a schedule, and we've been working through the last 4 months now on sort of a custom class based on their needs and interests. So what where they are as coaches, because, I kind of know that in advance instead of previously, and, what they specifically wanted to work on, the knowledge that they wanted to pick up. So that was cool. It's a lot of fun.
Really neat. What did you guys talk about today?
So today, since we were wrapping up, it was talking about next steps. So the whole thing started with figuring out your VIP as well as the people that you serve best. And from there, because that informs everything in terms of programming, in terms of the level of intricate detail you need to apply to your platform coaching sessions. Like, are they a competitor? Or are they not? So we opened with that question that always kind of sat in the background of our decision making. And then for this week 16, it was, so what are the next steps? How do you develop what Dr. John Berardi calls the unimpeachable credential? And since that's not going to happen today, that's a year-long, multi-year process. What is the next step towards that for the people that you want to serve? It's been fun.
Man, that's really cool. That would be so rad to have just a team of coaches to be able to talk through all that with.
I love it even from a teacher's perspective. Yeah. Because they're so guiding through like a curriculum, sure. But these are people coming from completely different coaching backgrounds, like coming from a garage gym setup, coming from actually owning a facility, working at a commercial gym, has no intention to coach, but is coaching family right now. Like all those are so fun to me. And a lot of the things that they provide and questions and the solutions that they've created for the problems that their people serve. I'm find myself constantly taking notes while I'm in the calls, yes.
Yes, because you get to hear what's important to them.
Yeah.
And that helps you as their teacher. Yeah. So that's rad. Very cool. I love that you do that and that there are people, or that the students are in it as well. That's rad. Elevating the world of coaching.
Oh.
Speaking of, let's talk about certifications today.
Oh, that was smooth. That was a good segue right there.
Woo, rolling on into the question of the day. CJ, are certifications pointless?
Yes.
Oh,
absolutely
right.
Pointless at all times for everybody.
Come on in hot.
So no, and I find this so funny. It's like we get this question a lot, something along these lines. It usually comes in one of two flavors. Either school is worthless. It just comes as the blanket statement. School is worthless. Certifications are worthless. Universities are worthless. Or vice versa. It comes through as a question. It comes through as, do I need this certification?
Yeah.
Do I need X whatever it is. And now when you frame the question as, do I need X certification? The answer is 90+% of the time, no.
Right.
But is it useless or can I use it? Is it important? That becomes an interesting question.
Mm-hmm. And there are so many fitness certifications out there. We have one. It's a great one. And if you were just Googling those before we hopped on the call here, and you found some great ones for dog fitness.
I was looking for a particular article. I thought it was Eric Tracy. Who knows? But and they got their dog a certification from an online, certification mill, right? And it's signed by it's a picture of their pug. It's great. And that was really, for me, this was years ago, reading this blog that actually caused me to rethink and let go of one of the certifications I had at the time, the CSCS, because it wasn't really serving me.
Right. Yeah. And
part of
that's what it comes down to, is how is it going to serve you?
Yeah. There's a whole industry and a whole mindset that's served in the broader cultural sphere, that before you can do something, you need someone to deem you approved. You need to get the A on the test. You need to graduate the class. You need to, demonstrate that you can do a thing before you can do it.
Yeah.
I remember like Dance Dance Revolution. You have to do the practice mode before you do the real thing. No, you can just do the darn, dance. And if it doesn't work out great, it's okay.
You can dance if you want to. You can leave your friends behind.
Yes. But it's so funny for us because certifications are actually, from a licensing perspective, from a legal perspective, to be a personal trainer or to be a coach in the United States and in most countries in the world, it is not a licensed profession. There is no legal authority. If you call yourself a coach, just generally, there's no legal authority out there that can tell you no, that the word coach is owned, or the word, so-and-so is owned. It's not a licensed profession. So that's not true. So a lot of the time, we get coaches who ask this question, do I need to? And it's the wrong question, because instead they're looking at the certification as, do I have permission to? Or am I ready? And do you have permission to? Who's going to give you that permission? There's really, we'll talk about some examples later, but that's rarely an issue. And then, am I ready? It often becomes for coaches this endless cycle of, well, I'm not ready yet. Maybe I'll get that credential. Right. So I'll get this, postpartum credential. I'll get, this credential, motivational interviewing, I'll get certified in that. And now you have a dozen pieces of paper on the wall and you haven't actually served people.
It makes me think of people who just keep going to school for ages and have never entered the workforce. And it's like, what are you doing this for?
Well, and I mean, that's a rabbit hole I probably don't need to go all the way down, but that even happens in coaching world.
Totally. Mm-hmm.
Where you get coaches who, they become certified in 4 or 5 different things. They kind of end up going down a reteaching the certification pipeline, where they earn the certification or they go through an academic curriculum, and then they spend so much time in that space. The thing that they are best experienced at is teaching this method, is knowing this method, or knowing this particular piece of knowledge. And so they just kind of short circuit right back into that pipeline.
Yeah. I think it's helpful to look at yourself and what you need. And then you also have to look at these certifying agencies as who they are and what they're trying to accomplish. Because I'm pretty sure most of them are for profit. I don't know if any of these are not for profit, but when I was first getting to this, I had my ACE, which I think you can just get by being awake, and it's like super duper easy. But I thought I needed that to coach CrossFit, which is ridiculous. But I think that most of them started off, that long ago, 10 years ago, when there weren't that many certifying boards, and they've increased in popularity and availability since then. Because like you said, they're going to recognize that people are looking for permission, and they're going to sell the permission, and they're going to sell it by making you believe that you're not ready, and that once you get this, you are ready. So you kind of have to look through the business of the certifying agency, and kind of look into it. Like, what are they testing you on? Does the information actually seem like something that you're going to use in your practice? And how are they testing you on it? Like, I remember CSCS was, I couldn't pass the practice exams because I couldn't memorize all the different stupid jumps. Like, I didn't even take the damn test because I couldn't get past the damn jumps. And I was like, and it made me so mad that I was being tested on it that I just didn't want to give them any more of my money. Because I didn't want to be tested as a coach by a multiple choice test about jumping from right foot to left foot and remembering the name of it. Why did you not take the CSCS?
Well, so
re-up it.
I took the CSCS. Like I had my CSCS,
Mhm.
and it took like I was on deployment. I studied mostly for it. I had barely coached, a few people at that time. Vaguely, it was mostly family and friends. And this was before I left the Navy. So I got the certification with the intention of keeping doors open. Keeping options open was the idea. And because it was just a multiple choice, knowledge test, then whatever, I'll jump through those hoops, just to have this particular thing. And I guess that's probably a good framework to discuss sort of let's imagine the worst certification ever. Not the CSCS, but let's just imagine it has, all the negatives in the world. It's the worst reason to start with certification. You're getting it because you think you have to, but you don't. You're doing it to distract from actually coaching, because you're vulnerable and afraid. Okay. It costs. It costs money. You mentioned that there are industry, there's an industry incentive to make you think that not only do you need the certification legally, but you need permission before you can go out there, and that you also need some kind of re-credentialing, continuing certification through that organization. So they have overhead and sustainment costs. I know with the CSCS, you could, at the time, and not all approving agencies do this, you could take other experiences and have it counted towards your continuing education units, but you still had to pay for those. And more as these businesses are getting pinched, the certification agencies are pushing, you have to go through our education. You have to go through our, certified credentialing, which is more costs. Many of them aren't going to get you clients. Right. So like no client ever looked for me because I had a CSCS.
Yeah. No
client ever looked for me, looked to find me because I had a USAW level 1, which I did at one point, the whatever it was called back then. No client ever came to look for me because I had the CrossFit level 1 until I was working at a CrossFit gym. And then they came because I was just associated with that gym. Like they don't necessarily get you direct clients, this hypothetical worst situation, and they don't teach you useful skills. So if you, in this hypothetical worst certification, like you said, you spend most of your time because they have to do a multiple choice test in order to be accredited, in order to have a consistent and easily manageable examination process. Then they give you a multiple choice test. Well, what can you test on multiple choice? Yeah, what is the name of this particular exercise? How many reps are recommended for plyometrics? What is the normative range for the YMCA bench press test or the push-up test? And so these things become arbitrary facts that you're not actually going to pull in as a coach, and you could just reference them.
Right.
You have the text. So when you start painting this imaginary terrible certification, a lot of the ones that I had in the past shared a lot of these, issues. And I realized it wasn't serving me, so I ended up having to let them go.
What do you think certifications are useful for?
Yeah, they have all these bad things. Are they any good at all? Well, at first, and then coming back from, that terrible situation, it kind of tempers out a little bit. So cost-wise, sure, they have a cost. They're a lot less expensive than entry to most professions. I looked up the requirements to get your PE, Professional of Engineering certification in California, but it's similar in many states. And on their website, they gave 2 paths. Did you pass tests? How long did it take? Blah, blah, blah. The more efficient total was 2.5 years and $850. And the less efficient route would take you 7.5 years and $2,300.
Wow. Yeah.
So when we look at credentialing as being expensive or something like that, on the one hand, it's like, wait a minute, this is for entry to business. This is relatively low. And in some ways, that's kind of the problem. People complain, oh, there's a flood of new coaches in the market because you can get a $150 weekend certification from, X online company. But
right.
I digress.
Yeah. Well, I think they convince people, both people who are looking to be a coach and also consumers, about the importance of having a certification. It's like, don't go to a coach unless they have a certification. And, gyms who hire coaches, they need some sort of standard. And they need to be able to easily communicate it to their clients to be like, no, our coaches are cool. Don't worry, they have their CSCS. And a client doesn't know what a CSCS means, what it certifies, what it's useful for, but they'll see the letters and they'll feel like they can trust this gym or this coach right away. So their ability to influence the market is significant as well. And I think that matters when you're looking at certifications is, the CSC is huge because they had just huge recognition across coaches and across clientele. And so I think there was even a period of time where people were just like, no, I'll only work with someone who's CSCS. It's like, do you even know what that means? And they probably don't, but it's like, it's how you think you can buy trust. Like, if I get this, I will instantly, my clients will trust me sooner.
And I totally agree with that. And I think that happens at two levels. You mentioned earlier, well, what is this, does this serve me? Does this serve the people that I care about? When I worked at a CrossFit gym, when I was taking, one-on-one clients for looking at form checks and things, nobody ever asked to see my CrossFit certification. Nobody ever asked to see my CSCS, my USAW L1, that wasn't, something that mattered. But if you own, because people had already found me through articles or whatever, knowing that I was a barbell strength coach or working through Barbell Logic, whatever it might be. If you own a walk-up type gym facility where a lot of people are foot traffic coming to your door, I've asked other coaches, you see in threads, it's like, has anyone ever asked about your certification? People will, no. And then people are like, are you kidding me? They always do. And 90% of the time, the people who say they always do, it's either they have walk-ups to the gym and people need to see there's a minimum effort. They need to see that they don't know you yet, but you're geographically close by, you're convenient. And they need some kind of yes, this person is at least endorsed by someone, even if they as customers don't really know, what that means. And also in the online space, if you're doing Instagram ads, Facebook ads, Google ads, anything that blasts out to a broader audience who might not know you personally yet, might not know your brand, they need to see something.
Right.
Oftentimes that's unnerving. So there's that level of who's the customer, and then sometimes who's the employer.
Right.
If you're going to work at a CrossFit gym, CrossFit box, you need a CFL1. Like that, and they almost make that necessary because of how their insurance works. But regardless, that's a requirement to work there. If you're going to work in a collegiate strength and conditioning environment, my understanding is talking to those coaches, like a CSCS is a ground level Mark 1 Mod 0. If you don't have this, why are you even applying? Just because that's the basic expectation or something like that, similar credentials.
Yeah,
So,
that's such a good point. I think certifications are useful as an employer because we have to promise a certain level of professionalism and knowledge to our clients, and it needs to be consistent. So using a certification as part of your, like you said, almost minimum level for entry helps you be able to promise a certain thing to your clients without having to test it on your own. So that's useful in that way. So I think if you're looking to work at certain places, they might be asking for that just to be able to promise it for their clients.
Well, yeah, just to be able to, and to help screen, because to actually know someone's coaching experience and their coaching philosophy and all that takes a really long time. So some gyms will go through that. They'll pull coaches from their current client staff or their current client group because they know these people and they can get to develop them over years. But if you're going to hire a coach from the outside, you kind of need some kind of verification that this person knows what they're doing.
Right. Yeah. Because you're providing a service to the client as, the main company. And so you need to make sure that people who are delivering it are doing a certain thing. Yeah.
And then it works on the other way too. So if you're trying to, if we're talking from an employer perspective, I mean, you obviously for your role at Barbell Logic, that's part of your thought process. How do we know that we're going to be a good fit with the people who end up working for Barbell Logic, as our staff coaches? And if you're looking to be a coach at a particular facility, the question of, do I need this certification, is almost answered. Does your employer need you to have that certification? So when I wanted to work with people closely in barbell training, and it was like CrossFit was it in my local area, then there wasn't a question, is the CFL one worth it? Yeah, of course, it's necessary. So that definitely is a consideration as well. Will it open doors for you in order for you to do what you really want to do?
So I like this. You're kind of walking through the thought process of how to decide for yourself if a certain certification is important. And there are going to be answers that say yes and answers that say no. And it's like, I think as you usually do so well, CJ, is you help guide someone to making the decision that will enable them to coach sooner and better. And so in some cases, you're going to need the certification so that you can get a job somewhere and be exposed to clients. In some cases, you need a guide of how to learn. Like that's another great thing that certifications will provide you with, is a textbook or an online learning environment where it's like, here's how I can get access to all this information in a structured format that works. Or like I think you said before, like certain specialties where it allows you to kind of dive in and learn more about a certain area. And it doesn't mean you have to get all of the specialties, but just some that will give you exposure to the clients who you want to work with or where you want to work.
Yep. There is, we, in the industry in general, and then just from my experience in conversation with coaches, there's a lot of and we've shared in this conversation, a lot of frustration that, I didn't learn anything during the certification, or I'm not going to use what I was tested on as part of my coaching practice. As a very beginning coach, the CSCS, the process of learning the basic anatomy, physiology from the text to pass that test was useful as a new coach. I wish I had started coaching on a professional level before I got it, or during the process of learning, because a lot of it wasn't, some of it hasn't held up information-wise. Some of it didn't hold up with my clients. And a lot of it I would have remembered better if I was working with clients at the time, and I would have had a better concept.
Like a way to apply it.
Yeah. What of this is applicable? What of this matters? But still, as a basic entry level for those, physiological understanding, so I can talk with other coaches, so I can read research, it was a decent start. And I think that's important too.
Yeah. The way I think the way they described the physiology and explained it was really, really useful in the CSCS. I remember that part.
For us, like that was why when we built the PBC, that was a little bit of the, in the principles course, in advanced concepts, supporting the study for the PBC. A lot of it was, okay, what is the basic physiology, anatomy, and biomechanics that you need to get coaching?
Yeah.
In order to start coaching, to have those intelligent conversations, to be able to participate in research, but not to get in your own way. So, you can skip those sections and go to the lifts, or like if you've got a session you're doing tomorrow, like you can review those lifts. You don't have to get through the anatomy first to get to the squat section.
I love that.
But I do think there is an element, we talk about parallel learning all the time, of learning while you coach. And there's an extension to which a certification and the process of learning and earning is a way to help with that step, help to learn with that process. And that's especially true of a specialty. If you want to particularly help and serve women, postpartum or during pregnancy while strength training or something like that, and that's not, you're not a woman, or, you haven't had multiple kids yourself. You haven't coached a lot of people who have that, but it's a specialty for some reason you want to move into. You need to learn.
Yeah.
And it helps to demonstrate that you've learned. So there are respected credentials out there that support that.
Mm-hmm. I think if you can coach after earning the certification without necessarily needing to publicize that you've earned the certification, that's a useful certification, because without it needing to be, letters after your name or additions to your Instagram, if you know it's going to make you a better coach, then it's worth it, because it's exposing you to knowledge that you need to grow. And so if you really believe that you align with what they're teaching and what their maybe even what their values are, then it seems like it'd be worthwhile to develop you as a coach without needing or believing that you need letters behind your name as a crutch.
Well, that's a critical point, and that's something in terms of any education. I wish I remembered his. Oh well, he wrote a book essentially asking this question: is college worthless? But as he runs the numbers down, you realize there's this spectrum. There's the value of the sheepskin, the value of having the letters behind my name, and then there's the value, the amount that what I learned actually improves my practice, actually improves my professional performance. And, any college degree, any education, any certification can be evaluated by how much of the value that you get is sheepskin and how much of that is from improving your actual skill. So there's that. But you drew out something interesting there. You said aligning. And that's something that it's really fuzzy woo, it's hard to quantify. But most organizations that put out content and that put out certifications have brand values.
Yeah.
They have, the people who know that certification know something. Like when you think the National Strength Conditioning Association and their credential, when you think of, Barbell Logic and the PBC, when you think of Precision Nutrition, there's another, large certifying agency, or CrossFit, like you have thoughts come to mind, immediate associations. And if you hold that credential, people will associate you, use that they know if they know that organization.
Yeah. So the letters are more important to the people who are looking at it in some ways. If you know it's going to fill you out, it's not just sheepskin. It's like, what is the value of those letters, or the cost of those letters in some cases. Yeah.
And if there can be good and bad. I mean, oftentimes we think of the good side, like, oh, people recognize me as an expert. That's true. If people have a bad brand association with that credential, that can be a problem. I remember there was a lot of discussion among CrossFit affiliates as to whether or not it was worth keeping the CrossFit name. They would keep their affiliation but change the name because some were saying, in their blog posts and things, that they were spending a lot of time defending what CrossFit is. Oh, you won't get hurt doing CrossFit, and so they were worried how many people were getting pushed away by that name.
Oh, yikes.
When Greg Glassman during the pandemic made a couple of inappropriate comments and eventually stepped down as CEO of CrossFit, hundreds of affiliates, like many quit immediately, and then hundreds said that they were going to de-affiliate because of the damage to their reputation because it was associated. So a lot of it can be, do my values align with the brand behind that certification? Do I want people, when they think of me, when they think of what I offer, do I want them also thinking about that?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Yeah.
Of course, that's all woo-woo fuzzy, and that can be
but,
tough.
We love that stuff. Well, I think if you were to summarize it it seems like the best way to answer this question is with, another series of questions. So I'll ask you the same question again in a different way. Like, let's see, how do I know if a certification is worth it?
You have to know what you want first. So if you go in knowing who you serve, what they know, and what you're trying to aim for, then the question almost answers itself. Because then you can ask, does this demonstrate minimum effort? Does it open doors? Does it direct my learning in a way? Will it help fill holes in knowledge that I need? Does it align values? Does it help display a specialty? All these things we've talked about. It almost answers itself once you know what do I know? Where are my gaps? What does the certification offer, like that educational experience? And what do my clients know and care about? And if the answer is, it doesn't offer anything new, my clients don't know or care about this credential, it's not going to bring anyone in, then you've answered it for yourself. Like, this isn't going to be the one for me.
And if it does
do those things, then it's a matter of costs. If it's worth it, like on a cost benefit basis, go for it.
Yeah. It comes down to, actually, if it's going to cost, $400 and you're going to likely be more confident to coach, 4 more clients from it, then that seems like it'd be worth it. Or if it's going to get you coaching in 2 weeks, that seems like it's going to pay for itself. Because the sooner you can get yourself out there, the sooner you're going to pay for it in a good way.
But even if it costs $147, I don't know why they end with 7 all the time, but if it's going to cost something relatively cheap, $147, but you're not going to use it, your clients aren't going to recognize it, and then within 3 months, you'll kind of have forgotten the material because it wasn't applicable directly to what you're doing right now, then sure, it was cheap, but it was a waste.
Yeah. If it wasn't applicable, you're going to forget it really quickly. That is a good one. That's a good thing to remember. Excellent. Well, I hope this helps you who are out there pondering about taking a certification or not, make a decision that's right for you in your journey. And is there anything else you wanted to add, CJ?
Nah. Like we get the question enough. I'm looking forward to sending this to a bunch of people.
Totally. It's great.
You already know the answer within who you serve and who you are. Just answer that first and then you can go. Yeah.
I love it. Excellent. Well, thank you, CJ, dropping some more coach knowledge, and thank you everybody for listening. Feel free to leave us a review. In fact, please leave us a review and leave us 5 stars. We would appreciate it because it helps us reach more people. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.